Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Aho here with KissAnalog.com. My Fluke 189, it needs a repair. So let's just jump into this video. I'm going to repair this Fluke 189 and yeah, let's just do it because this video is going to turn into a little longer video than I thought it was going to be. Alright guys, so this is my Fluke 189. It's my favorite Fluke meter. I think it's the best meter they ever made, and it has a problem, but never fear, there's plenty of parts on eBay because, well, these meters, they're robust but they don't last forever, and some people think they do, but you have to give them some tender loving care. So if you might notice, these red terminals here kind of come up to the surface and this black one doesn't. It's kind of down inside there. And the red one is kind of pushed in there too a little bit. So these are the most commonly used ones, right? And yeah, this guy, it kind of works, but it's not really making good contact all the time. So that's a problem. So the other thing is, here, let me tell you why they don't make this Fluke anymore. Now this is my opinions, of course, but that Fluke and this Fluke, the Fluke 87, which I think is probably their flagship, the one that makes them the most money on Fluke meters, I'll bet you, because it's an expensive meter, and I've used tons and tons of these. Some of the defense contractors I worked for, they had stacks of these, just stacks and stacks. So both of these meters came out in 2004. Okay, so yeah, this V version, the 87.5 version, it came out in 2004, so it's been out for a long time. And here, let me turn them on just so you can see displays while we're talking about this. So you can see all the numbers on the 189. Now when these Flukes came out, this one here was supposed to have 20 more features than this one, and it's just awesome. I'm going to do a video on this, okay? I'm going to review these. Let me know what you think, if you like that idea. But I was going to do a review, and basically I was going to kind of say that I thought this was going to be the 87 killer, even though this version came out the same year. I think this one killed this one because this one was too good. So they had to get rid of it. That's my feeling. That's my belief. May not be true, but that's what I think, because when we saw some of these in the lab, everybody wanted them, and we kind of, is friendly fights over them, because these were boring. They've been around forever, and yeah, I mean the 87V or 5, what you want to call it, 2004. The original 87 came out in 1987. And then between 87 and 2004, they came out with different versions until they came out with this one. So, yeah. So there you go. And, yeah. So anyway, I'll do a review. I better stop talking about it. And, oh, by the way, so this big, gigantic behemoth, which I am not a fan of this meter. Here, I got to turn it on just so you can see the display on this one too. But, is it turning on? Yeah. It takes a while to boot up. One of the problems with that meter. Sucks batteries like no other either. So I got it cheap because it has this big scratch. So anyway, so the thing is there is a 189 too that came out. And so if you look online, like on eBay, looking for 189, because I say they're great, don't get the 2 version because it'll be in this case. It'll look like this, and that's no good. I don't like this meter, so I wouldn't do that. I would get the original 189 if you're looking for a used meter. But honestly, the price that these sell for, on eBay, I mean, they're so expensive. I'd actually get this meter, the Hioki. They cost about the same. The used version of this costs about the same as this. They're like in the $400 range. And it might even be more expensive than the Hioki. But this Hioki, it is an incredible meter. So, I love the meter. But the 189 is my favorite Fluke meter. So, let's fix it. Okay? So, the good thing is if you do have to repair this meter, there's plenty of parts on eBay, okay? And the one I have right here is this terminal block, which I'll show you. Here, let's pull it out of the thing. And, okay, it's that. And you see how these all extend up? It's kind of hard to see the black one. But if you look there, the black one, you see these, that one kind of sticks out more than the other one. See that one? And then they kind of get pushed in towards this end. But the black one there, it's hard to even see it, right? It's just kind of broken. So maybe you can see it there. It's kind of broken in there, and it kind of moves around. All right, so the thing is I got this one, and guess what? This was about almost $38. Well, with tax and everything, it probably was $37.56 before tax and shipping. I think shipping was free. I think I just paid some taxes. But there is another version, which I understand is supposed to be better, which I didn't know about until today, actually. But there's one that this part's red. I don't know why it's better. If you guys know why, let me know in the comments, okay? But you can see the pins on this one, right? So you see the pins, what it looks like? As far as I can tell, the red one and this one look the same. They, besides how, you know, there's two pins because one makes contact and one, you know, when you put a probe in, it tells you the probe's in place. That's kind of how they do it. And then it has these little plastic things. You see one over here, one on each end, like one here and one here. And those things are offset. One's on this side, one's on this side. And that's supposed to support it when it's inside. Alright, so yeah, there you go. Now, that's not the only problem I have with this meter. Also this. See this stand? Whoops, it came off. You know why? Well, because you see that little plastic thing? See how skinny and flimsy? It's hard plastic, and you can see how thin it is. It's very thin plastic. It is unbelievable that they made a stand like this. It's just incredible that they did this. This one's broken. It just broke off so easily. It broke. I was putting it down one time and it just snapped. I was like, what the heck? So yeah, so that's broken. Now this thing, you can get them though, eBay, 23 bucks. I just didn't want to spend 23 bucks for a stand, so yeah, maybe I should. I don't know. I'm actually on eBay. I'm actually bidding on a used Fluke that's damaged. That's for parts only, and right now it's going for like $38 or something. But it just barely got put on, so who knows? It'll probably sell for 100, 200 bucks, and I'll just not buy it. If it sells for 50 bucks, maybe I'll buy it just so I have some parts. This little guy right here. See this thing right here? This thing right here, it goes for about $17.50 to $26. I've seen it all over the place. And it's just a rubber, it's a soft rubber thing. You can see, because this is hard plastic up here. Hard plastic. And then it's soft rubber on the sides. But this door and this is hard plastic. So this thing, they had to put on there, which just pops off. That thing they had to put on there so that the probes would fit in, right? For people that like to do that. So, you know, Fluke likes to do that on their meters. It's a good idea, I guess. Now this little window right here with the IR thing, if this is scratched up or damaged, don't worry, you can buy one for $21, okay? So it's crazy what people are making on just parts. So, yeah, you can get that. You can get the display, if you scratch the display like that, you know, like this guy. But this display is $59. So the LCD screen, so that's actually not too bad considering the price of everything else. And considering the display is probably one of the things most likely needing replaced, right? Now this knob, if you need to replace this knob, never fear, you can buy that for about 25 bucks on eBay, okay? So that's good. Oh, guess what else? When you take this door off, this door, you can get this door here for $30 on eBay. So this plastic door, it's just hinged right here. And these little black terminals, these little screw terminals, if you damage those, because they get buggered up, luckily mine are not too bad a shape. But those little plastic knobby things, never fear, you can buy those for like 25 bucks each. I think it's $25 each. I could be wrong, but yeah, anyway. So, and you can get the whole case too. I forget what the case costs. I didn't look at the price of that because it was kind of crazy price. So you pretty much got to get one of the damaged meters on sale to get that. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and see what we need to do to replace that. And you'll see how this guy looks, okay? And I'll just kind of, these things only take like a quarter of a turn. So you want to be careful. You don't want to crank on them because you will damage them. And then it comes off like that. And you know, I don't use the gold top batteries anymore because they just leak like crazy, and people on this channel have said they had similar experiences. This foam they put in here, it becomes useless after so many years because it just, yeah, it's pretty much useless. But you can see these little black things, you can kind of push them out and replace them. So yeah, they are replaceable for a price. So is this. So, and there you go. So we're gonna just have to take the batteries off and take this apart, okay? By the way, I'll show you some of the tools I use. I love this Work Pro, and I'll have links down below because I love that tool because it's a ratcheting tool. So you can lock it in or you can ratchet it, okay? Or if you put it in the center, it locks it both ways. And you just pull this down and it releases. Otherwise it holds them real tight, and then they're magnetic. So I like that. And all the tools are kept in the handle. So that's one of my favorite tools. And this one here, this is a knockoff of another brand you might be familiar with. It costs a lot more. But I'll put the link down below for this because it comes in a really nice case with a bunch of, with other, you know, with a whole bunch of different heads and stuff. So these are really nice. What's nice about these is they're insulated. See, you just turn this and they pop out. But yeah, this mechanism here was patented by the other company and they just slightly changed it. So yeah, but yeah, I got these because way cheaper. But this insulation is nice when you're working around stuff that's powered. And guys, the reason I use hand tools instead of battery powered tools is because these screws are just meant to drill into plastic, you know. So you can cross thread. The plastic will be okay, you'll thread in, but the problem is you're gonna, you know, grind away the plastic, and you can put them in too tight and strip things and all that kind of stuff. So that just comes apart like that. Then those screws, see this one here is already broken off, see that? So that standoff right here, see this one? That one's fine, but this one got broken. So that was done before I got it. That's one thing about buying used meters is you just never know the shape they're going to be in. Hey, it works as a retaining head. See, it keeps the screw retained. So it's a feature, right? Anyway, hey, the other thing, see this brass? I call it brass, the connecting metal for the battery compartment. If you do have corrosion, now these aren't, you know, they're just kind of aged. So I have some stuff I clean contacts with. I need to clean these because I can see they're kind of tarnished. But they become tarnished over the years too. So that's just another thing. But you can replace all that brass, guys, for, you know, again, on eBay it has, I've seen prices from $20 to $12. And I don't know if that's for individual pieces, because I've seen this individual piece right here sell for like $10. So I'm not really sure. But anyway, so you can always buy that stuff too. You know, so if you buy a meter for $400 or $500, you want to keep on repairing it, you can. Alright, so here's the terminals I'm going to have to unsolder. And look at that, somebody's attempted to repair this once before. And now the two pins are no longer isolated there. Well, it looks like this copper, see that dark copper underneath the top surface? So it looks like those two pins were connected anyway, solid. I think these two are the ones that have the identifications. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so once you get the bottom off, all you have to do is loosen that one and it comes off. And I didn't know that for sure, but I was hoping this, well, actually that feels loose. Oh, so you know what? That feels loose. It doesn't even feel like it was tightened. So whoever took it off before, or maybe it's stripped out. I'll find out when I put it back on, but that screw, I did not loosen it, but it was totally loose. Yep, okay. Well, hopefully it'll tighten in there, because this shield has to make contact right there. See that electrical contact? So, because there's some shielding on this side that mates with this shielding, and this black, I think it's a black carbon kind of, I think it's some kind of shielded material though, I believe. You can kind of see how it's, the deposits here. So, yeah. Oh yeah, you can see the contact there that makes contact right here. So I'll just show you that. Okay, you can see those contacts, both pieces. So we're gonna try. I see dust inside here. I was gonna say I'm gonna try not to get dust in, but it looks like it's already all dusty. So I'm gonna blow that out. And the display seemed to be clean. Didn't seem to have dust on it, but yeah. I always hate that when you take meters apart, because you end up with dust inside. And yeah, you can see this terminals. You see how broken this thing is? Like, I'm not even sure how you get something broken up like that inside. I think it's one of, you know, who knows, it might have been used by an electrician out in the field, and you know, he just wasn't very tender with it. But even these contacts, looking down inside them, they don't look clean. So I guess it's a good idea to get nice clean terminals. Alright, so now looking at this thing, I just wanted to look at this and compare it to this one to make sure it's the same piece. It looks like it is. Has the offset plastic things here. They don't even go all the way through the board and snap. I thought they would. But yeah, they're just kind of there to help position it. They don't offer a whole lot of support, I don't think. But what I notice on this one is I see this little thing here. Maybe that's a ferrite bead on the board. Yeah, I see the connection there. At first I thought it was a piece of this plastic. I thought I had the wrong thing, but I think it's a ferrite bead. And I just felt something fall off. Okay, that's that screw. That came out of that hole that I took off. I thought I had removed it. Okay, so here, let's get the soldering iron out and repair this. All right, guys, this is my soldering iron. I did a video to review this. I didn't quite finish it, and I saw a lot of other videos out, but I thought they missed a couple of details. Safety and grounding and stuff I wanted to point out. But so maybe I should finish that video. I'll probably just do it from scratch, but because that was a couple of years ago when I first bought this. But this is a great soldering station here. So let's go ahead and use this. It has these great tips, so I like this iron. Alright guys, look at this pad. I've been using a different cleaning station, so I'm going to start using this. I'm going to set up my soldering station, so it's always fun to watch these things grow. See this? If you haven't done one before, it's just cheap amusement. They just expand like crazy. First time you do it. But yeah, it's nice to use a sponge. It's still expanding, still sucking in that water I poured down there, but yeah, there we go. Let's clean this tip off. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove this stuff, okay? So I might end up using braid, that works great. But I'm going to give the old solder sucker a try first, because that's just quick and easy. And you saw me tin the tip. You kind of do that just to wet the tip, because it helps spread the heat way quicker on the joints when you do that. Okay, and then I'll just get in here and suck it out of there. Okay, let's get in here and try to heat this up. I turned up the temperature a little bit. I got the tripod between me and this work, so I'm just reaching around. It's making it kind of awkward. And it's sucking up quite a bit of solder, because I think whoever tried to repair this before just put lots of solder on it trying to repair it. I think they bent the tips over these little metal things. I think they're bent over too. So yeah, I think they tried their best to repair it and kind of made a little bit of a mess while they did it. You know, when a meter's 18 years old, you just never know what has happened to it, even though it looks pretty good on the outside and might function. It actually functioned well for a while. I noticed the ground thing was kind of buggered up, but I was just careful to put my probe in and it was fine. So, but you know, there has been a few times when it was acting kind of goofy, and so I thought it was time to repair it. See, these are coming out a lot easier because these other joints, they put so much solder and it spread all the way through the board. These are cleaning out really nice. It's kind of hard for me to see, like I said, the tripod, the distance I'm away from it. It's like, normally I have a fan that I turn on. It has a little filter. It's really inexpensive. But yeah, I just thought, this little job, I don't need to set up everything. Got a big chunk, look at that solder, big chunk of solder. I think that filled up back here. If I feel like they put a piece of a pin or something in the board, because it feels like there's something metal going across these two holes. Like I can almost get the tip of the soldering iron underneath it. So I think this has had some serious repair work done to it. Be nice to get new contacts. Yeah, same thing over here. It's just hard to even get it. I might have to take a look at a magnifying glass. Just a minute, I'll be back. Alright guys, so you can see how there's some kind of pin that's been strapped across on both of these. So that is weird because they should just be pins like that, right? So we're looking at pins like this, just, you know, 2 pins, but it looks like little metal straps. So yeah, so I'll just get my dikes here and I'm just going to snip those so I can spread them apart and pull them out. Okay, yeah, I felt those come apart. There we go. And then maybe I can get the solder sucker and get them out of there. Alright, so I'm going to go through each one of these pins again and loosen them up and try to suck them out. Alright, let's try to get these big ones. You know what, guys? I just noticed something else. Look at this. This black plastic was broken off around this one, and the glue was put down here, epoxy was put down here to hold it to the board. So that's kind of broken loose now, and I think I could probably wiggle this one out. I don't want to damage the pad, so I might have to put some more, you know, get some more solder off. But yeah, isn't that crazy? But it is kind of getting loose, and there might be some more epoxy underneath this one too. So, you know, the top of this, you can see how loose that is. It always has been loose, but you can see, like, even these are becoming loose. So, yeah, okay. I think we're getting close to taking them out. Alright guys, we're going to give a little solder wick a little try. And I'm going to put a little of flux down just to get the heat to flow. And try to clean the joints and get this solder out. So we're sucking some solder out of there. Yeah, I felt like some solder got pulled out. It's crazy how much solder they put in here. Like say the I gotta give myself an excuse again. I do have a tripod between me and the camera, or me and the board, so I'm kind of reaching out and trying to see the best I can. Okay. We're gonna give that a try. Just had to clip the pins off because they were so buggered up when they tried to do whatever they did to fix that. God, there's all this epoxy up in there. Man, what a mess. Those look fine, these two sets of pads. The two that they epoxied, I'm going to see if I can clean that off. I'm not sure if I'm going to... Yeah, the pads look okay here though, I think. This one might be destroyed, but these pads are discrete pads, I think. I'm not even sure. I see a big heavy thing of copper. Yeah. Anyway, not really sure how they're connected. This one looks like a separate pin there. God, I don't even see anything running to this one. I'm going to look through a light. Alright guys, so I got the flashlight underneath the board. And obviously this pad, you got the big heavy copper. But inside the board you can see a little narrow piece coming to this pad. So they're both important. That's how it's sensed. On this one, I can see this guy obviously, but I can't see when there might be a little, yeah, it might be another little trace that goes up and then it's covered by this. So it runs up underneath it. And then those are just two big heavy pieces of copper, it looks like. Okay, these are a little bit harder to see, but you can see there's a little narrow trace coming from that big pad. And that's the only thing connected to that one. Then this one over here has a big connection. So I'll ohm it with the meter too and check, but I think both those pads are connected together on this glued one over here, the second one over. Alright guys, so I used rubbing alcohol and rubbed really well on both sides of the board. And there's a few little things I got to clean on this side, but I got a lot of it off with rubbing alcohol. And I'm just using this pick to slowly scratch away some of the epoxy here so that the new terminals will sit down flush. Okay? And there is a circuit here with a trace going to the pad, so I'm trying to avoid that. Alright guys, in the end, I'm embarrassed to say, I used my Crocodile Dundee technique. A flat blade actually worked great in scratching away the epoxy. So I'll clean that up with some alcohol, but I think it's looking pretty good. It looks great with wet alcohol on it, huh? When I dry it off, maybe it won't look so good. But that does help you look and see that it is pretty clean. Here, let's zoom in a little bit. What do you guys think? It's looking much better, right? And the other side is not as important. Alright guys, I've got this back here to prop up the meter so that glare doesn't shine off that. What I want to do is I want to ohm the two pads to see if they are connected. See? Get the red display and the sound. So they are not connected. Those two pads are not connected. So one is for indication that a probe's in there, and one is for the actual reading. Same here. Okay, those are connected. And those are connected. Okay, that's great. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over and let's look at the other side. See if, because there's multiple layers on this board. And these are feed through, so it should read the same. I just want to verify. So no, no, yes, and yes. Okay, so this one here, I imagine, yep, right there to that fuse. This one, yep. And then these are connected to some other circuit. All right, when I use that LED trick, I could tell this pad is connected to that pad up underneath the fuse. And when I do it to this one, I see a little trace going underneath here. So the closest thing is that pad right there. So that's what I'm going to try to test and see if that is actually true. So let's do this one first. Okay. Yes, so that is still making contact, so that's great. Okay, this one is the fuse. And this one, yes, good. So it actually does go that pad right there that's just underneath the fuse. I mean, it only makes sense because I don't see anything connected to that, so it's just a fine wire. So that's just a sense wire to tell the meter. And look, you know, here's something else I need to point out. See these two prongs here? They have little hooks to hold onto the board, but somebody took this off once before and broke off these two. And this meter's been through hell, actually. See this? I never even noticed this before, but there's a hairline crack right there, so I might put a little super glue to hold that display together like that right there. But it'll stay together once I put it into the box, but and I think the pressure, God, that's kind of crazy. But see these connections here? I'm going to clean those off, but they make connections to those zebra connectors or whatever they call them. And if you want to look up close, I'll just show you that. So they make a connection across those little zebra connections, and as long as these two are, I think, because it has been working just fine. The only problem I had is that ground connection. So, man, this meter's been through hell. So that's the problem. I paid good money for this meter, but it was used, and these meters are made just like the Fluke 87 back in 2004. So you never know in the last 18 years which meter you're getting, if it's 18 years old or if it's, you know, newer. In the case of this one, I don't know how long they made them before they ran out. But anyway, and you know, just getting back to lifetime warranty. Lifetime warranty, oh yeah, lifetime. Of course, lifetime only means the life of the meter. Which means, I think it's up to 7 years max. So after they stop making the meter, they'll take care of it for 7 years, I think is what it is. So this meter's been in, you know, I mean, even the Fluke 87, they've been around since 2004, so 18 years ago. So, gosh, you know, that's why you find all the used parts on the market. They wouldn't sell used parts if they're still warranted. So lifetime warranty is not lifetime. That's a bullshit term. Sorry about that, but I just wish they'd stop saying that because people believe it, but it's not. It's a long warranty, but not lifetime. Urgh. Sorry. All right, super glue to the rescue. If I can get the cap off, it's glued itself down, right? I am gonna put, whoa, hold on a second. Wow, that is a mess. All right, okay, I'm gonna try to spread these apart just a little bit. It spreads apart when I don't want it to. And I'm gonna put just a dab of glue down in here. I don't need very much. And then I'm just gonna hold it together and let that dry. Have you ever noticed that there's times when you just barely touch super glue and it just dries to your hand, it glues your fingers together, it glues everything together. And then there's times like this when you're trying to get things. Now, of course, I got a little bit more on there than I wanted, but still, there's other times when it just takes forever. All right, guys, one thing I forgot to do was, so these two terminals are together, these two terminals are together, but one thing I forgot to do is make sure that they actually go where they're supposed to go as well. And when I go to this, okay, let's go from, say, here to here, But see that little trace right there that goes to this inductor? That I could see that cut right there. The pad was broken off, so it is not making connection. So I will have to, since I'm putting the connector down, and that's actually my ground terminal, which is interesting, I am going to have to connect this to this. So that'll be interesting. I'll have to think about how I'm going to do that. If it's on the other side of the board, it'd be easy because I could just solder the pin to the thing. But this is on the side that goes down, so I will have to somehow connect that pad to this trace. Alright guys, so the problem is these pads are connected. You can hear my meter, but that trace right there that goes up to this part right here, it's not connected to that anymore. Okay, but the good thing is that's just a ground trace. That's where that ground terminal goes, right? When we solder those on. So what I thought about doing was taking a wire and wrapping around the terminal and going up to here. But then this wouldn't sit flush, and I just scratched all the stuff away so it would sit flush. So I don't want to do that. So the other good thing is there's a pad right there. There's a pad right there. So there's two more pads I can take this one to. So I can take a little wire from this lead over to the lead of this part, or maybe to, this part's a little bit bigger. So maybe I take it right from here to there. So then that way it'll be connected. But yeah, you can see the pads got stripped away. So there's still the ferro, or there's still the copper plated barrel that goes through the board, but the pads are gone. So you can see the pads over here and the pads here. But these two pads got damaged. This was the terminal that they glued down, that they had some kind of problem with. So they really, and I think when the glue just pulled up the pads off the board is I think what happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder this down, and then I'll solder a little wire up to one of those. Alright guys, so I soldered that wire to that pin. Now I'm going, and I left enough length where what I'm going to try to do is push this insulation down, and then I'm going to wrap it over and solder it to that one. But there's another pin on this chip right there that I don't want it to touch, so I'm going to try to push this insulation down so I can loop it around. Alright, that was pretty easy. I just grabbed my fingernail, pushed it down, and it slid right down. So now I'm just going to try to carefully bend this wire without stressing this solder joint and solder it to the other connection. Alright, so there it is. It curls around, and I'm going to solder it to that capacitor there, but I have to stay back here this way, because when this block gets put down, I realize these are chunky underneath here, and this black thing right here, it has to clear that. It has, I don't want it to lay on top of it, of course, so I think it's going to clear. I'm going to go ahead and solder and try it. Alright, there it is, soldered to the capacitor. So soldered to that capacitor right there and to the pin that this trace went to. So I think we're good. Alright, let's make sure. Okay. I'm touching that trace, and I got it. Alright. Now hopefully this block will fall down on there without being interrupted by that little wire. Wow, that was a close fit. Just barely squeezed in there. So yeah, that worked out good. Alright, when I'm soldering this, I'm going to leave the iron. I'm going to get the tip kind of wet. I'm going to leave it here for just a moment. So, because that pad's gone. So I'm just barely touching the barrel. Well, the pin's going to touch the barrel, so I got to put a little pressure on it. Okay, I think I felt like solder squeezed down in there. And leave it there for just a moment. Make sure. Wiggle it. Okay, do the same one on. It looks like there's a little bit of pad on this side. The good thing is these two pads are tied together, so really, as long as one of them makes really good connection, I think I'm okay. Okay, this one has some pads, so this one should be easier. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna wiggle the wire just a little bit. The second one's easier because it's already hot from the first one. I'm wiggling the pin. Oh, I saw solder just get sucked down in there. Yeah. Okay, I just wiggled it and it kind of helps the pin make contact with the barrel and heat it for one, and let solder flow a little bit better, I think. But mainly just getting enough heat. So got the solder tip turned up nice and hot too. Okay, good enough for government work, right? So that looks pretty good, I think. Alright guys, so now look at that. That is a battery. And guess what? It measures like nothing. Well, millivolts. And you notice how it's kind of colored around the edges of it? That's because there's a little rust ring. That is due to these Fluke meters not having a very good IP rating, the ingress protection rating. They actually have a lousy rating. They're actually not rated. There's the Fluke Max, which came out, the 87 Max, which the only upgrade in the 87, which has been done in 18 years, was the Max. And that was, I think, 4 years ago. And that was to give it a good IP rating. So IP is like, say, a 67. So the 6 is how much dust can come in, and I think that's why the inside of this thing is here. Let me show you. Look how dusty it is inside here. Just all that dust. That's because of the ingress protection rating. So I know everybody loves Flukes and they want to believe they're the most awesome, but man, they're not indestructible, obviously. I mean, this meter looks great from the outside, but when you open it up, you start seeing all these problems. And so the first number is for the dust, and the second number is for moisture. And so obviously dust gets in that meter really well, and moisture, because that battery is rusted. And of course it could be old as the hills too. So yet another problem. And guys, about that, if you notice, like I already showed you the battery contacts, how they had some, you know, there's some deposits on the metal. It's becoming a little tarnished. Same here. You can see it's not shiny anymore. I mean, so I'm going to clean these up, but the fuse like that, but also this, and that's, a lot of that has to do with the ingress protection rating. I mean, military electronics will be out in the field forever, and they put conformal coat on the boards, they do things to protect them, and they make sure that moisture is not going to damage military products and leave a soldier in the field in danger. But not saying, you know, we need to go to that kind of lengths on this, but then again, other meters do. They have a nice IP rating. So here's my Klein Tools MM700, and look at that, IP42. So the 4 is for dust and 2 is for moisture. So at least it has a rating. Might not be a real high rating, but hey, at least it has a rating. Alright guys, here's my Amazon commercial, 90 DM600, and they can't keep these in stock. They just, you know, I've done some reviews, and right after my review, they've been sold out every since. So I don't know if it had anything to do with my reviews or what, but look, IP67, that's awesome. And they get that water rating 7, which is almost waterproof, pretty much waterproof. That's because I have these plugs. You have to have the plugs in. But yeah, it just tells you, you know, that 6 is for dust, so it's dust free. So you could open up this meter years from now and it's not going to have that kind of corrosion and dust inside. Oh, and you're wondering about safety? Well, of course, CCE. Well, some people don't believe in that one, but look at this, ETL. That's as good as you can get, same as a UL rating. Oh, and by the way, the FLIR DM92 has an IP rating of 54, so that's pretty good. And we have all the safety ratings, UL, whatever. Alright guys, so what I learned, I went and looked for the part for that, what I thought was a battery, and it's a supercapacitor. So I put it together so that it would charge. And let's see if I can read it real quick. You know, now that I've disconnected the batteries, let me see if I can read some voltage here. Okay, anyway, I had leads crossed, but 200 millivolts. I don't know the voltage is supposed to be there, but yeah, so, and maybe it discharges quickly when I take this, but what I learned the trouble was with these is they leak and damage the board. So I might replace that anyway. But you know what? Something else I wanted to show you. I was going to take this off to show you what you get for $21. But then I realized mine's actually broken. The 2 pieces of plastic fell off when I took it out. And it's got a big old stress crack. Because this plastic is not very strong. I guess if you drop it on its head, you'll break that. That's why you have to pay $21 for that. So, and by the way, a lot of Flukes don't even have a drop test. So that might surprise you. Now, just a tip, you have to push this fuse up so it's flush here, sticks out a little on that end so it'll fit, and then these pieces of plastic here fit down in those slots for voltage isolation. Oh, and that went in, it's a little, it feels stripped, but it catches, so it's somewhat tight. I'm afraid to tighten it too much because it feels like it's just going to keep turning. And so we got these 2 screws in, and that was the broken one, but I think the threads go in deep enough that it catches, which is great since my display is partially broken. So you need that pressure to keep the display turned on. Yep, it catches. So I'm going to be careful not to strip it out. Alright, something else I want to show you is there's little cracks I can see down in here. So I got to be careful when I put this on. Saved him for last. I'm going to try to line him up and first go backwards to make sure it seats, make sure it's going in straight. And man, these screws are long. I don't know why they have to be so long. Yeah, and I can see the plastic kind of spreading apart, so I'm just going to keep it right there before I spread it apart, and that should be good. Well, before we finish, let's just make sure it works. Nice. Oh, hey, I think there's a secret setting. Maybe it's a hold one, I think. Yep, there you go. Lights up all the displays so you can make sure that your display, those zebras, are making good contact. So, yeah, it seems like it is. I mean, it feels tight, so, okay, I think I'm good. Okay, now let's test the test leads. Okay. Let's go to current. See, whoops, there's first current. Okay, leads. Leads or fuse. Okay, good. No sound, just leads. Where you really blow the fuses is when you're trying to read current, right? Well, here. Oh, yeah, look. There we go. Doesn't like that. Doesn't like that. So, you know, when you're reading current, okay, milliamps, microamps, it kind of gave me a little chirp, and it says leads. I'm in milliamp. The flash that says leads just for a moment and is okay, so I think it's just, okay, that's microamps, but amps is okay. Okay, microamps and then amps. Okay, so it seems like it's working fine. Working the way it's supposed to, so that's good. But that's how you damage it, right? You're reading amps, right? And then you come over here to read voltage, you know, 120 volts, and you blow your meter up. But that's not enough chirp, and it's continuous, that would annoy you enough that you would find out what you did wrong before you damage your meter, hopefully. Yeah, I think that is fine. And now this one, look at this meter. The way this one works is it doesn't allow you to plug anything in there. And then when you go to microamps, it opens that one up and closes this. Milliamps, okay, and then amps. It slides over, exposes that, and closes that. Another nice thing about this method is it's physically impossible to damage your meter by having it in the wrong spot. The other thing is it keeps the other ports, when you're reading voltage all the time, you rarely ever read current, keeps those nice and pristine clean because they're sealed. Well, at least they're covered. I don't know how sealed they are, but they're covered. So guys, as I was looking up parts and all that stuff for these, I noticed parts for both this series, the 180 series and the 280 series coming up. So I think both of those series have issues with stands and other things that break. So yeah, it'd be interesting to look up Fluke 87 to see how many parts are online. You know, one last thing I wanted to point out is I was looking at the terminals, and I noticed these two both protrude a little bit more, and these are flush. That's because the meter's kind of rounded. It's kind of rounded here. So if it does fall, it's going to hit, you know, more of a point versus a flush. So you're going to get more of the impact on a smaller area, which I don't think that's a good thing. And that's probably why this little lens breaks. That's probably why you can buy them for 21 bucks. My hell, that should be $5 or a couple bucks. So the Hilti does this concave thing on both sides so that it's going to hit the rubberized corners instead of the hard plastic. But, you know, this meter's a more recent meter. I mean, Fluke hasn't been making nice meters for a long time. 18 years, I guess. Alright guys, so what do you think? I really like this Fluke 189. I really like this meter. Even though, I mean, this thing's been around for 18 years, so I don't know if this was built in year one, so maybe it's 18 years old. Or maybe whoever owned it before just beat the crap out of it. But, you know, in photographs on eBay, it looked great. So you just never know what you're buying until you actually get it, right? So that's one bad thing about buying a Fluke that's 18 years old, like the Fluke 87 5, same thing. It came out the same year as this one, so they haven't upgraded that for, well, they made the Max, right? And that came out, what, 3 or 4 years ago? That was to give the IP rating 67. Other than that, the Fluke 87, the 189, the 289's been around for a long time too. So I think 15 years or something. I don't know. But these meters have been around for a long time. So if you're buying them used, beware, because it's kind of hard to return them once you get them. And I bought a couple meters. I know someone else bought a Fluke 289, is dud. So yeah, you just never know. Hey, 2 thumbs up my patrons. Hey guys, I've been a little sick, and so I haven't got some videos out. Just started feeling a little bit better today, and I thought I'd get a video out tonight. My wife's out of town, so I'm going to try to get a couple videos out this weekend as well. So I'm going to try to catch up. Thought I'd do a repair. Thought it'd be an easier video, shorter video than this, so sorry about that. Still a little not too hot. But yeah, 2 thumbs up to patrons. Really appreciate you guys, all your support, and the guys that have hit that thank you button. And I'm so happy that YouTube put that thank you button down there. Some people just like to do the one-time donation, and they don't want to sign up for Patreon. But if you do, you can become a patron. Links down below. And I still have to turn on that YouTube membership thing, right? So people can become members instead of using the Patreon thing. if that's what they'd rather do. But so many videos I see. God, things are stacking up. You guys are going to see. I'm going to crank out some videos between now and the end of the year because I got so much to do. Oh, and I just went over 20,000, and I'm hoping to hit 21,000, or God, it'd be nice to get even more than that by the end of the year. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, do so, okay? And by the way, all you guys commenting, I really appreciate that. What I've been trying to do is I was doing a good job keeping up, and being homesick, I tried to catch up with some of them, but I still just can't keep up with all of them. So I go through the list and I try to hit all of the subscribers first, so you know, so that, yeah, I want to pay back those guys for subscribing, right? And then I go through, and then I start just chugging through the list, and sometimes I go for the, yeah, I kind of bounce around a little bit, but so subscribe, and got a better chance of me responding sooner. But yeah, that helps the channel. Liking the video if you liked it, this was worthwhile. And yeah, I thought this was going to be easier, man. That little terminal block, just, God, what a mess that was. Somebody, jeez. You never know what you're going to buy when you buy used. So, but now I put another $38 into it or whatever, 40 bucks with ship taxes or whatever. Yeah, a lot better shape now. So, all right, guys. And hey, it gave me a video, right? So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.